I want to bring in Congressman Tom Price, Republican from Georgia. Thanks so much for being here.
Jake.
So you heard Mitt Romney just then. He is reflecting the view of a lot of Republicans, including many in the Senate, who say this is going to hurt the Republican Party. The American people are going to blame you.
Well, I think that's not true. As a matter of fact, I think the American people will brush everybody with the same stroke. This isn't the way Washington ought to work. The fact of the matter is the president and his party and Harry Reid have refused to compromise on anything whatsoever. The Republicans, if you'll think about it, have put forward a repeal bill, have put forward a defund bill, have put forward a delay bill. Those are three different compromises, if you will, for the president's health care law that we believe to be destructive not only to quality health care, and as a physician, I can tell you it's harming quality health care, it's destructive to the economy and it's destructive to small and large business.
Why is it a compromise for the funding of the government to be allowed to go forward? Why is that you conceding something? Isn't that just how this is supposed to work?
Look, the president has said himself, in fact, he has used his unilateral authority, according to him, we believe some of it's overstretched, to delay or defund fully a fourth of the law already. We think it's simply fair.
He delayed the employer mandate.
Employer mandate, delayed the caps. Delayed and actually said you don't have to prove that you are eligible for a subsidy in order to get a subsidy. Those are simply things that say that his law isn't ready for prime time. We believe that, in fact, what he ought to say is that it's not ready for prime time for the American people either. Because, again, it's destructive to quality health care and it's destructive to the economy. We ought not stand idly by and have that go into effect.
Don't you think that you're stepping on... You want to have this discussion about Obamacare, and I understand that, and that is certainly a discussion worth having. Don't you think that you are ruining that message by instead there are all these veterans who aren't going to get benefits, all these people who work for the government who aren't going to be able to work and pay the bills for their families? The American people are going to look, whether they blame both the Democrats and Republicans or just the Republicans, I guess we'll see. But we're not talking about Obamacare. We're talking about Republicans and Democrats and the government shutdown.
Jake, think about what the Republicans in the House have done. They have passed multiple pieces of legislation to fund the entire government, with the exception of a very small portion that the vast majority of the American people believe ought not go into effect. That's what the House Republicans have done.
I don't know where you get that. I mean, the last poll I saw had 54% of the American people opposing Obamacare, but 16% of them thought it wasn't liberal enough. So you can go back and forth on how many, the percentage of the American people that are opposed to it. Let me ask you about a clean bill, because that's what the Senate Democrats are saying. Give us a clean bill, just fund the government for a few months without any of this Obamacare stuff, without the defunding or delaying extraneous material. The Speaker, John Boehner, said, no way, you guys aren't going to do that. Aren't there enough votes, though, in the House to have a clean bill?
I don't believe so. In fact, I think what the House of Representatives, in representing their districts, is saying clearly that we need to fund the entire federal government. There's no doubt about it. But we need to make certain that we modify, at least minimally, the law that the American people do not desire to go into effect. Look, the president, again, has said to large business, you don't have to comply with this law for the next year.
For a year extension.
We ought to say the same thing to every single American. If you're going to give it to business, it's only fair to give it to the American people.
There is another new poll from CNN. 69% of Americans say congressional Republicans are acting like spoiled children. Only 1 in 4 say they're acting like responsible adults. The numbers are not as bad for Democrats or for President Obama. Doesn't that indicate that this is hurting your party?
Look, what's hurting our party, what's hurting our body politic, what's hurting the democracy that we have is that individuals in this town refuse to get together and compromise. And the president has not come to the table to compromise. Harry Reid has not come to the table to compromise.
This isn't something for them to... This is a government spending bill. This is funding the government. Just like the debt ceiling is, as you know, this is about just America paying its bills. These aren't debates over health care or budgets coming in the future. This is... These are separate issues.
Oh, but Jake, they are. 17 times since 1976, this piece of legislation, the spending bills for the American people, have had something tied to it that the other party wanted. 12 times under Tip O'Neill when he was Speaker of the House. So the fact of the matter is, it is about things other than just spending. Remember, spending out of this building behind us demonstrates the priorities of the American people. And so one of the priorities we ought to have is to make certain that people's health care isn't harmed, that the economy isn't harmed, that we're able to have small businesses create jobs, not become a part-time economy and a part-time America. That's what this bill is doing.
So it's okay with you if the roles are completely reversed, let's say in 4 years, there's a Republican president, a Republican Senate, and the Democrats have the House, and Democrats say, we're going to shut down the government unless you raise taxes on the wealthiest Americans. I mean, you disagree with it, but that's okay. That tactic is okay.
That's not what we've said. We've said we want to fund the entire federal government, with the exception of that portion that the American people don't believe is ready for prime time. We want to make certain that jobs are created. We don't want part-time jobs. We want full-time jobs.
No, but I'm saying the tactic of saying, you don't have the votes to do what you want to do with Obamacare in the Senate.
I don't know that.
You don't?
No, I don't know that.
You have 67 votes to delay or defund Obamacare? Because that's what you would need to override President Obama's veto.
You need 60. It's a dynamic process. I believe hopefully the president will wake up and say, I guess I better represent the American people. The president himself has taken fully a third of his signal piece of legislation and said it's not ready for prime time. He's told employers, don't worry about it. It's not anything you have to worry about. Why don't we do that same thing for the American people?
Congressman, what do you say to your critics who say that House Republicans are acting as if they're in an alternative universe where Mitt Romney won and Republicans control the Senate? You're trying to pass things that the president, who was reelected last November, opposes, and who the Democrats in the Senate, who have the majority, oppose.
22 Democrats in the United States House of Representatives voted for a one-year delay of the individual mandate. 35 voted for a one-year delay of the employer mandate. This is a bipartisan issue.
That's the House. I just talked about the Senate and the White House, though.
79 individuals in the United States Senate voted for a medical device tax repeal earlier this year. The fact of the matter is Harry Reid won't let them vote. He just tabled it. How dismissive is that of the normal process that ought to occur here, the normal give and take? The folks that won't compromise are the President of the United States, Harry Reid, and Mrs. Pelosi. Those are the folks that won't compromise.
Congressman Tom Price of Georgia, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks,
We
Jake.
appreciate it.